Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Big Mike Talks. I am your host, Big Mike, and today we are going through the rest of the week, that is, pro wrestling. And yes, I do mean the rest of the week because we now have the grand return of AEW Rampage and SmackDown. So I will be covering those today, so sit tight, grab yourself a snack, maybe a drink, and let's do this. So, first promotion I'm going to be covering is, of course, Impact Wrestling. And we kick it off with some X Division action. As X Division champion, Trey Miguel takes on Laredo Kid, making his grand return to the promotion. Laredo has been out with injury for a little bit. He did return at Triple Mania last month, and this is his first foray back into Impact. And honestly, these two gave it all. It was a white-hot opener with Trey Miguel picking up the win via actually taking Laredo Kid's mask off. And with Lucha Libre, the mask is very sacred. It's very traditional. So unmasking is a sign of disrespect. So that goes into something in a bit as Trey Miguel grabs a mic, says pretty much puts out there that he thought Chicago was the toughest crowds in America, and you're whining like little bitches that I won this way. Boo hoo hoo. And then he calls himself a generational champion, yet here in Impact I get zero respect. But now it's time to put respect on me and on this title. And then it's revealed I'm just going to sit here until I get the respect I get. Out comes Chris Sabin. He then says, "Oh, yeah, Trey, I hear you. You want respect. But here, respect isn't just given, it's earned. And you are a heck of a champion. But you disrespected this title when you spray painted over it. You disrespected the champions that came before us. Myself, Alex Shelley, Jay Lethal, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. And then at Under Siege, I'm going to take this title, becoming a 9-time X Division champion." So, nice little opener, and then a nice little hyping up of the Under Siege match, which we'll get into that in a little bit. We then cut to backstage Trinity, the former Naomi, getting ready for her first match under an Impact banner. And then in comes Jay Vidal, who says, "Trinity, you got me in trouble with Giselle Shaw. She's mad that we took that picture together." Trinity said that, "We didn't take that picture together. You took that picture. If she should be mad at anyone, she should be mad at you. And if Giselle Shaw is really that pissed, she needs to do something about it. And I have an open contract for a match at Under Siege." Vidal says, "Yeah, let me go talk to Shaw. We'll get back to you." We then get a nice sit-down interview with Sami Callihan and Rich Swann. They go over their history, and apparently Rich Swann's first match was against Sami Callihan, and at first he was intimidated, but then they grew close. They lived together for a little bit, and at the end of the day, brothers do fight. They bring up their history with OVE when that was a thing. Please bring them back. And But Callan pretty much says, whenever I need help, whenever I need backup, I'll always call Rich Swann first. In which, nice little moment, hyping up their match with the design, which, who's going to be the third man? I guess we'll see soon. Fingers crossed. Next match up. We got one half of the Impact Tag Team Champions, Ace Austin, taking on Jason Hoek, who is one half of the Good Hand and now under the Brian Myers Learning Tree, which I'm pretty happy they brought that group back. I kind of missed the Learning Tree. It was stupid, but it was fun. They had a pretty dang wild back and forth matchup. At one point, we do see Brian Myers up on the apron with John Skyler trying to get involved, but Chris Bay stopping him. And then at one point Myers, it's Skyler has the ref's attention. Myers then hits Ace Austin, and Hoek with the roll-up and the victory. So, a little bit of an upset for Mr. Hoek. Will we see them be added to the Under Siege tag team bout between the ABC and, not the Righteous, it's Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews, which I'm hyped for that match. I'm glad they're coming back. We then see backstage Steve Macklin, Satnam Singh, and Mohabali Shira, with Macklin pretty much saying, well, what you did to Heath last week was great. Maybe me putting an end to this alliance was a bit quick. So, for now, you can follow my orders, and let's go. They then leave, and then, shown a bit later on, they beat down PCO. Like that was a heck of a beatdown, including a kind of, it wasn't a power bomb, it was like a spine buster onto some boxes. So, that match is going to be fun. Then we get a Jordynne Grace interview. She says her match with Purrazzo at Under Siege is a big one for me, because if I don't beat Purrazzo, I can't challenge for it anymore. In relations to the match last week, I hope Purrazzo is at her best, because I want to beat her at her best. And then what happened at when trying to gain the tag team titles was an accident. Then Alicia Edwards comes in, and she's pretty much saying, "Oh yeah, Grace, you're telling me what you did was an accident. I call bull." And then Grace pretty much just kind of leans into her, making Edwards flinch, and then she walks off. We then get the in-ring debut of Trinity taking on one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Kylan King. And I'm going to say this, I've missed seeing Trinity wrestle. She is super underrated, and it was so good seeing her back in a ring. And to team her up with, I'm not even going to call her a youngin', but someone who's relatively new to the Impact style. Both women looked great. During the match, of course, Taylor Wilde tries to get involved. She then gets thrown out. A lot of good back... freaking Heat Seeker on the outside, which that was gnarly. And then we get a roll-through into a Starstruck submission, which Naomi wasn't really known for her submission moves, but that was something to pull out. Your winner via submission, Trinity. And honestly, it was a great match. I'm going to say highly, highly recommended. Post-match, we have Jay Vidal coming out, pretty much saying, yeah, Trinity, Giselle Shaw has a message for you. She accepts your challenge for Under Siege. Looks like he's going to turn away. He then brings the mic back up. And, Giselle has another message for you. Goes to slap Trinity. Trinity blocks it. And then just hits a bunch of kicks. Looks like she was trying for a rear view, but Vidal bows out. Trinity then says, yeah, I'll see Shaw at Under Siege. And that's the end of that. We then get the Macklin Shira Singh brawl with PCO. We then get to see Jessica backstage, who we haven't seen anything with the Death Dolls in a little bit, considering Rosemary is in the Undead realm. And Jessica is still looking at the sand timer. She's waiting for her crew. Then the Coven roll up. And they want Rosemary. They want the Death Dolls to come back at 100%. Jessica pretty much says, yeah, I'm staying away from magic. There's no way I'm doing this. She then calls the Coven saying that Rosemary says that the Coven aren't powerful enough to open the door to the Undead realm. Wild then says, yeah, we're powerful enough. We just don't want to. So maybe we see a new alliance with Jessica and the Coven, perhaps? Maybe we see the return of Jessica Havoc, her previous persona, which, we'll see. Then Jessica brings up, you just lost to Trinity. Why should I be fearful for you? Wild then brings up, Kylan didn't lose. This is just step one of a bigger plan. So, I don't know what the Coven have in store, but I am interested to see. Jody Threat then squashed Sierra in a couple minutes after F116. That should be... I hope Jody Threat gets something a bit more out of the Knockouts division in the coming months, because I think she's pretty good. Next, we see Kazarian backstage. He's getting ready for his match. In comes Eddie Edwards. Pretty much saying, yeah, it's going to be a weakness if we don't get this thing done tonight, so that we could go into our Under Siege match with an advantage. And Edwards tells Kaz to follow his lead. Kaz then mockingly says, of course, I'll follow your lead, oh great leader. How did Honor No More end anyway? So, I'm glad we got that little jab from Kaz. We then get Dirty Dango, backstage with Johnny Swinger and his still investigating who took out Santino. Joe Hendrian pretty much immediately gets blamed because of his position. Hendry denies it, calling it false because I'm a champion. Then he turns to Dango. What have you done since this match? They then start fighting it out a little bit. They break it up. And then we see Dango's shirt ripped open. And it's revealed a little bit of his chest hair is missing. So that's probably leading us down the road that Fandango might have something to do with this. Which, definitely a twist I saw coming, but it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And Fine Alamo? Yep, Fine Alamo. We get a 6-man tag team match playa. At least Fine Alamo for Impact. We still got a couple more promotions to get through. As Moose teams up with Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian to take on Alex Shelley, Yuya Yumahira, and Jonathan Gresham. And honestly, these 6 guys really went out there and killed it. A lot of good back and forth. Moose and Gresham actually worked really well together, even though they're, completely different sizes. During the matches, we see Kaz kind of forcibly tag in Eddie Edwards at times, do the same thing with Moose, while the other team is moving a little bit more fluid, like they're actually kind of getting along. Near the end, Kaz goes for a chicken wing submission. Eddie Edwards tags in, hits a big old Boston knee party for a 2 count. Tiger Driver gets blocked, and then you finally see Kaz, fed up with Eddie Edwards, clothesline Eddie Edwards' head off. Shelley hits the Show Shock for the victory for his team. Now, at Under Siege, we're going to see all 6 of these men on their own for the next person who gets a shot at the Impact World title. So, this is going to be a big match. And it was a fun main event. Going to be interesting to see where all this goes in a week. Next up, we got Ring of Honor. And we open it up with an interview between Willie and Ninja Mac. As they say, yeah, we have respect for one another. We had a great match against one another. But what if we team up? So, Willie Mac and Ninja Mac as a tag team in a Ring of Honor? I'd be okay with that. Our first match is Lucha Libre at his absolute best, at least out here in America. You have Gringo Loco taking on Rey Fenix. And boy, oh boy, do they have a lucha house party. Near the end, we see Gringo Loco hit a massive destroyer on Rey Fenix for a 2 count. Then Rey Fenix gets out of another move, hits his springboard cutter for the victory. We then get a wingman interview, and they, talk down to the opponents later on tonight, which are the Iron Savages, bring up their old Bear Country moniker, which I kind of prefer Bear Country. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Iron Savages, but Bear Country just sounds more cool. Like, Iron Savages sounds like they're trying too hard. Anyway, setting up their match for later on in the evening. Next up, we have Maddie Rankowski making her Ring of Honor debut. She's a regular on NWA, as she's taking on Willow Nightingale. And honestly, this is pretty much the most one-sided match I've ever seen. You got a spinebuster. Willow, kind of near the end, tries for a gut-wrench powerbomb. Maddie counters it. Then Willow with a pounce. And then finally gets the gut-wrench powerbomb for the victory. I do hope Willow gets some more shine here at Ring of Honor, and maybe she'll end up being the one to dethrone Athena. Although not anytime soon. Athena's doing great. We then get the wingmen, that's Peter Avalon and Ryan Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler's little bro, taking on the Iron Savages. And yeah, it starts out as an Iron Savages beating. At one point, Avalon does and Nemeth do get back in the match. But eventually, Iron Savages hit their elevator drop, which is Bronson on Boulder's shoulders, and then just splat right on their opponent. So your winners, the Iron Savages. And honestly, for the Savages, I think Ring of Honor is perfect for them. They can get a little bit more experience and maybe get some tag gold. Who knows? Next up, in a very oddly competitive match, we have Cole Carter and Zach Clayton, who have been teaming for a bit, taking on Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal. And yeah, like I said, this was a very competitive match. A very good match, too. Very well paced. All four guys worked really, really well together. But then we got the Uranagi with Sydal taking out Cole Carter on the outside. And of course, run it back, the best moonsault ever from Daniels to Clayton for the victory. So that's definitely gonna. I do hope for more success from Daniels and Sydal, because they're definitely not done. We then get a vignette for the main event later on tonight, the fight without honor between the Kingdom, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin. Then we get women's action as Lady Frost takes on Miranda Alizé. This match was a great mesh of styles. Both worked really, really well together. Alizé started off white hot, but then Lady Frost got back into it after a Tiger Driver and her finisher, the Temperature Drop, which I absolutely love the name of that. Your winner, Lady Frost. Ooh. Next up, a bit of a return matchup. We have Eli Isom and Cheeseburger making their return to Ring of Honor, taking on the Spanish Announce Project, Angelico and Serpentico. So you have Luther on the outside, and honestly, this was about as high-flying as you can get with these guys. But then after an twisty ankle lock by Angelico on Isom, your winner by submission, the Spanish Announce Project. Not a match I'd write home about, but it was still pretty entertaining. Next up, we got the New Japan World Television Championship on the line as AR Fox takes on Zack Sabre Jr. And honestly, these two went at it. This was a great bout from the both of them. It went down to the wire, but after a ankle lock stretch muffler submission, your winner, Zack Sabre Jr. We then get a little post-match interview. Saying how he took his chance to make some history with the new title, and he's been dominant ever since. And he is the most active TV champion in any promotion. And out comes Samoa Joe, the current Ring of Honor TV champion. And normally Joe would say, I would be treating this as a jovial invite, but right now there's something in the ring that offends me, and that's your title. There should be only one TV champion, and let's find out who it's going to be. Then out comes Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels, which they then set up potential champions versus challengers match coming up, as Joe and Zack Sabre Jr. will team up to take on Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels in which if Daniels or Matt Sydal pin either of the champions, they get a shot at that title. So that could be a fun one. Next up, we got the Gates of Agony representing the Embassy, 2/3 of the 6-man tag team champions, taking on one of the boys. The other one got hurt, thanks to the Embassy, and Dalton Castle. And the one boy took a beating in there. He still had some fight in him. He did some really big kickouts, but overall, it wasn't enough. And after they open the gates, which is a great finisher name, your winners, the Gates of Agony. However, it is then argued that Dalton Castle was actually the legal man, and the boy was actually pinned. So we'll see if that gets brought up in storyline soon. Next up, we got Shane Taylor and the Workhorsemen taking on, a bunch of jobbers, and it ended pretty much how you think. Shane Taylor and the Workhorsemen get the win. We then get a Righteous interview, as they call Stu Grayson inspiring, and let's get on the same page. In comes Stu Grayson. Pretty much calls the Righteous ants in a burning room, which is an interesting line. Looks like the Righteous are trying to get in Stu's head a little bit more. In comes the Dark Order. Then Vincent pretty much says, yeah, the Dark Order is holding you back. And to really break out on your own, you need to join us. Dark Order come in. They start arguing. Stu then stops them both. And he says, yeah, you guys don't talk for me. And then he turns to the Righteous. You guys have one chance. And he goes with them. So it looks like Stu Grayson is going to be in the Righteous, which, that's surprising. I'm definitely interested to see where that one goes. Next up, we got a bit of a squash match. It was definitely felt a bit more competitive. We have Ashley D'Amboise taking on Mercedes Martinez, the former Ring of Honor Women's Champion. And, overall it did feel competitive, but like I said, it was pretty much a squash with a city sleeper from Martinez to pick up the victory. And next, oh boy, this was a fun one. A fight without honor. It's not a match. You're allowed weapons. And you don't have to shake hands. As the Kingdom, you got Matt Taven and Mike Bennett taking on Action Andretti and Darius Martin. And they brought all kinds of plunder. Garbage cans, kendo sticks, ladders, tables. And they used them all. And it was a glorious war. One point near the end, looks like the Kingdom had Darius Martin held up. Bennett was going for a big elbow. Darius Martin rolls out of the way, hits Maria, who was on the apron at the time. Then after a low blow, a spinebuster through a table, and a doomsday off of the ladder. Your winners, Action Andretti and Darius Martin. Now with both victors and losers kind of writhing in pain, getting ready, they all get up and they finally shake. So respect has been earned from the Kingdom, and honestly, this was one of my favorite rivalries in this new version of ROH. I'm interested to see where this goes, especially not with what's going on with Dante being out. So, that is Ring of Honor. Next up, we've got Rampage. Now, Rampage preceded SmackDown this week because, a little bit later on was going to be the NBA playoff games, which, personally, I didn't watch. Basketball isn't really my thing. And we start out with a big old six-man tag. We got the Blackpool Combat Club. Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta taking on the Best Amigos, that being Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, and Bandito. And boy, oh boy, these guys went a mile a minute. It was great. Highlights include Bandito trying to lift and slam Claudio. That failed. But, a match between those two, I think could be pretty fun. We tried for a couple of roll-up victories. That gets denied. Uppercut from Claudio, a Death Rider from Moxley, and a big splash from Yuta. Your winner, the Blackpool Combat Club. We then get a little promo from Kyle Fletcher, the current IWGP and strong tag team champion. And he's shooting for a shot at the international title held by Orange Cassidy. So, that should be a fun one. Next up, we got the TBS Open Challenge as Jade Cargill waits in the ring. And it is answered by Danny B, who is a local yokel. Got a fallaway slam, axe kicked, your winner, Jade Cargill, who is now 58-0. Then we have Mark Sterling, pretty much on the mic. Hey, Texas, is that the best you got? Is that the best you can come up with? Bring out another. And out comes Genesis, who I thought this was going to be Genocide from the NWA. I haven't seen her in the NWA in a while. But it isn't. We then get another squash with a spear and a jaded victory for Jade Cargill, who is now 59-1. We then get Smart Mark Sterling back on the mic and saying, hey, let's go for 60. And it looks like someone else is coming out. Out comes Taya Valkyrie. She takes out the other opponent, walks into the ring, goes face to face with Jade Cargill, hits her with a big old Road to Valhalla, aka Jaded. Gets a mic, pretty much says, who's that bitch now? And issues the challenge for Double or Nothing for the TBS title. And honestly, I do see plenty of people saying, oh, this is where Jay should lose. It's time. I don't disagree, but I think the person who should take the title off Jade coming soon is Chris Statlander. Whenever she's healthy, whenever she's good to go, maybe she shows up at the end of Double or Nothing. Maybe, fingers crossed. Either way, I do kind of agree Jade needs something more. Next up, we got the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn taking on the Varsity Athletes. This was a very quick yet competitive match, if that makes any sort of sense. And then winner with the Arrival mic drop combo, the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. We then see a QTV segment minus Powerhouse Hobbs. They're hyping up the Blackjack Battle Royal, in which everyone is entered. Saying how Hobbs is front and center for the Collision posters. And he's ready to take on some new faces and be the center of Collision. We then get a promo from the Hardy Boys and Isaiah Cassidy. They're ready to move on from the firm, which have been deleted. They hype up their 6-man match at Double or Nothing between themselves, Page, and the Guns. And if the Hardys win, they get control of Ethan Page's contract. I'm sorry. I'm sick of storylines like this. I don't need them. Let's move on from them. Then out comes Ethan Page, who's pretty much feigning, oh, yeah, I don't want to be doing this match. I feel like I'm done. And let's put this all behind us. He tries shaking hands with Cassidy. Cassidy's not going for it. Ethan then hugs Cassidy. Cassidy pushes him away. He's like, all right, you don't want to do this? Let's shake hands. Then Ethan Page holds Isaiah Cassidy's hand for a while. In comes the Guns. They attack the Hardys and Isaiah Cassidy. Then Ethan Page puts a hardcore necktie, which is a steel chair on the neck of Isaiah Cassidy, hits a big old stomp to the chair around the throat. And Ethan Page gets back on the mic. Yeah, you're never going to moan again, let alone wrestle. See ya at Double or Nothing. So, that's probably going to be the P-break match for Double or Nothing. No offense to these guys. They're great, but we then see a little segment of Chris Jericho talking about Adam Cole, how he's banned from the arena, how it's bullshit, how he lost to Roderick Strong this past week. And then we see Adam Cole outside the building. He's like, Jericho, I would love nothing to come in there and beat you up right now, but you got that paper, and so I can't do anything about it. However, how about at Double or Nothing, we have ourselves a match. Jericho then reveals, oh, this restraining order is now null and void. Let's do this. And then Cole says, yeah, that's all I needed to hear. Enters the arena. He's walking on the concourse. Comes down through the crowd. Jericho's waiting for him. And they just start brawling. And it's a dang good brawl, too. So, we got that match to look forward to at Double or Nothing. Then we got our main event for Rampage. Don't worry, we're almost done here. As we get Bishop Khan, 1/3 of the Embassy, taking on The Natural, Dustin Rhodes. Man, it's been so long since I've seen a Dustin Rhodes singles bout. It's great to see him back in the ring. And these two go at it really good. Like, Bishop Khan is definitely an underrated wrestler. I do hope someday he gets a bigger stage. Maybe even as a solo guy. No offense to the Embassy. I like the Embassy. I'm good with groups. But I think he could be a breakout star. And then after a Bulldog neckbreaker combination, your winner, Dustin Rhodes. Post-match, Brian Cage jumps Dustin from behind. Then we get Swerve Strickland out. He joins in the brawl. And then Keith Lee makes the save. We then have Swerve and Keith Lee have a little stare down. Khan and Cage attack Keith Lee from behind. And then Brian Cage hits Keith Lee with an F10 onto the chair Swerve brought in. And then Khan and Cage set up the chair, seat Keith Lee in it, and a double stomp on Keith Lee on the chair. Which that ends Rampage. A very good episode of Rampage. Rampage is definitely an underrated bit of wrestling watching. And yeah, I hope more people tune in coming around. And finally, we have SmackDown, which is the go home show for Night of Champions. And how do we start it off? Of course, Roman Reigns. We get a Roman promo, sort of. He doesn't really start talking besides his whole acknowledge me BS. As outcome, Owens and Zayn. So I am glad they interrupted. Zayn still getting huge pops, which I love to see. Roman Reigns says, "Oh, perfect. This was my plan all along. I wanted you to come out here first to acknowledge me." Owens and Zayn pretty much say, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that. And for you two to drop your tag team titles." Owens pretty much says, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm a fighter. I'm ready to go." Roman then pretty much goes over, "I have a special career, but I have one regret, wasting my life on Sami Zayn," which gets the biggest boos of the evening. Like, that was great. Then Sami Zayn retorts, "I have one regret, not blasting you with a steel chair sooner," which gets a huge pop. That's great. Sami Zayn then continues, "This has been a long time coming. I've been dreaming of a moment like this for months. Never thought I'd get the opportunity. But at Night of Champions, you're going to have to walk over us to get our titles. You're not as good as us, and you're definitely not as good as the Usos." Roman then retorts, "I took it easy on you at Elimination Chamber, Sammy." Then out comes the Usos from behind. They jump Zayn and Owens. Then we get a shot. The Usos are celebrating with themselves. They go to high five Roman. Roman's pretty much like, yeah, no. He has a breakdown. And then you hear him off mic say, "I didn't tell you to come out. I had this plan. It was a perfect plan, and you messed it up. I had something to say." Then we have the Bloodline backstage in their locker room with Roman clearly mad. At the Usos, he then throws them out of the room for their match later on, which we'll get to, don't you worry. Speaking of matches, we have our tag team match playa, in which the tag division got a lot of time this week on SmackDown. I like it, as we have the Brawling Brutes being represented by Butch and Ridge Holland, taking on the debuting team on SmackDown, Pretty Deadly. Now, personally, I am not familiar with Pretty Deadly. I didn't really watch NXT while they were there. But I will say, I was impressed. Their character work works. Their wrestling, while not the best, it's serviceable. You then had Sheamus on commentary, clearly cheering on his boys. We have a double 10 beats of the Bowery by both Ridge Holland and Butch, which was it was great. Then with the ref having his back turned, Pretty Deadly had spilled milk, which is a great name for a finisher. Your winners, Pretty Deadly. They then, taunt Ridge Holland and Butch on the ramp. We then get a nice vignette, superstar Billy Graham tribute, as he has passed away. Rest in peace, Billy Graham. Then we get a short Zelina Vega interview, pretty much saying, "Everyone has counted me out in this match against Asuka. In Puerto Rico at Backlash, I proved I can hang with the best, and I'm ready for Asuka." in which then we roll into that match, Asuka versus Zelina Vega, and honestly, it was very competitive. Was it a little quick? Sure, but we had, of course, the Vega hit the 619 and the Meteora for the 2 count. We get the Asuka lock for the submission victory for Asuka, who at first doesn't let go, but then Bianca Belair comes out. She lets go. Then Asuka with the mist to Bianca. And then it's revealed that Bianca didn't get all hit up by the mist, but it still got her. We then get our first look at the Grayson Waller effect, in which, honestly, I'm going to say this. Grayson Waller, I haven't seen wrestle either. He was on NXT as well when I didn't watch. However, he is a heck of a talker. Like, this is the one talk show that I was engaged in, that I felt like really kind of mattered, you know? He brings out his guest, AJ Styles, and of course they go over their history when AJ Styles made a trip down to NXT and they had a match in which I might go check it out at a later point. He then calls AJ Styles first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's ready to add to his accolades winning the World Heavyweight title. Then AJ goes out, pretty much says stuff about his time away, said he was ready to go back in, and as soon as he was cleared, he went right into training and getting ready for this opportunity. And with Seth on a movie set, I'm sure he's working out, I'm sure he's getting ready, but I am ready. Then Waller pretty much goes, your winner, new World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins. And they go face to face. So we're probably going to have that match at some point. We'll see. We then get the LWO minus Zelina Vega backstage. They're talking a little strategy, hyping up the Usos as the best tag team in the world. And they pretty much finish up saying, the Usos are going to find out what happens when you mess with the LWO, which that's going to be a fun one. We then get this weird tag team match as the Street Profits take on LA Knight and Rick Boogs. LA Knight has a mic on the ramp pretty much saying, tag team titles aren't safe for me either. That's why I can win this match against anybody, with anybody. Brings out Boogs. And Boogs starts out dominating. Like, this was a very, very big surprise. You get LA Knight coming in a little bit, doing his thing. Then after a sky-high frog splash, your winner's the Street Profits. I'm okay with the Street Profits winning here. But then, post-match, you see Knight helping up Boogs a little bit, then hits him with his finisher, so it looks like Boogs and Knight are going to be feuding for a little bit. We then get a Cameron Grimes interview, recapping his quick victory over Baron Corbin last week, and he's ready to focus on the top and get pushed to the moon. Which, I love Cameron Grimes. He's a great superstar, and I hope for nothing for the best, but the best for him. We got Cross doing his tarot card thing. They pull out AJ Styles, so it looks like they're going to be feuding too, which could be interesting. We then get the shortest match of the evening, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, pretty much squashing a couple of local enhancement talents. It is then revealed that Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan have to relinquish the tag titles because Liv is going to be out soon. Out for a while. So on Raw this coming week, we're going to get a 4-way to crown new champions. That includes Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Chelsea Green, and Sonya Deville, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, and then Raquel Rodriguez and a mystery partner. Ooh. Going to be interesting to see who that is. We then get an Austin Theory promo, which definitely slowed down the entire show. Not to say I hate Austin Theory, he's just very one note. Pretty much goes over the draft. And Raw, I was so well known and well liked. But here on SmackDown isn't what I expected. I get ganged up on by Lashley and Sheamus, and I don't get any respect. And at Night of Champions, I could have beat Rollins for the world title. No, you wouldn't have. And that's not just a theory, that's a fact. Calls Lashley jealous, saying he follows me all over the place. And then Sheamus, I don't get. Both have similar accolades. Both are tough and strong and beat John Cena. Although Theory beat Cena recently. And then Sheamus comes out. He's still in his suspenders and street clothes. He goes to grab a mic. Looks like he's going to talk. Bro kick right to Austin Theory. And honestly, I want to see Theory get his ass kicked finally, so that he can move on to something else. Like, he needs a repackaging. Maybe he should rejoin The Way. At least in there he was entertaining. We then see the Usos backstage, in which Paul Heyman then rolls up, pretty much says, yeah, Roman forgives you guys for what you did this earlier. Usos ask, will Roman be at ringside for this match? Heyman says no. He's preparing to make his statement at Night of Champions. And the Usos got this tonight. In which leads into the Usos versus Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar of the LWO. And honestly, this was a fun match. Really good back and forth. You have Santos kicking out of many Uso splashes. Definitely a couple of super kicks. Then out from different parts of the arena are KO and Sami Zayn. They distract the Usos. Then a 619 by Rey Mysterio. A splash by Santos Escobar. So, your winners, the Latino World Order, in which a big one like this, I hope, gets them into some sort of contention in the future. During this match, we see Roman, Solo, and Heyman watching the Usos match on the screen. Post-match, it looks like Solo's about to get up and handle business, and Roman stops him. So, we'll see where this goes in the near future, and hopefully, it definitely looks like the Bloodline storyline is getting a bit back on track. Because post-WrestleMania wasn't exactly that interesting. Okay, that is it for me. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Coming up on Thursday, I will be doing my first half of the wrestling recap of the week. Wednesday, I'm going to do my predictions for the 3 shows coming this weekend. Friday, you got Impact Wrestling Under Siege, so no SmackDown or Rampage this week. Saturday is Night of Champions, although I won't be watching it on broadcast because I got a family event that day. And then Sunday is Double or Nothing. So I will give my review on that on Tuesday. So that should be a fun one. Stay tuned for those. So also next week on next Saturday, there will not be a review episode for that day. Maybe I'll try to do it on Sunday. We'll see. But yeah, that'll do it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this week in wrestling. Let me know what you're looking forward to next week, including the pay-per-views. And of course, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.